Welcome back everyone. Today we will be discussing the Yeezy Foam Runner Ochre. Specifically, we will be discussing whether you should sell or hold the Yeezy Foam Runner Ochre and why that is. To preface this, if you guys enjoy these types of videos regarding the market, reselling, and even info on how to acquire these limited products, be sure to subscribe and enable post notifications. This way you're always 100% updated. Furthermore, for more urgent updates like shock drops, such as the recent Jordan Reserve or even exclusive access for Off-White, follow my Twitter, KeithAdam10, and also personals for you. For those who don't know, the Yeezy Foam Runner Ochre releases on September 18th. Tomorrow, retail will be $80. As usual for foam runners, an absolutely beautiful retail. In order to determine if the Yeezy Foam Runner Ochre will be a fruitful hold, we will cover an estimated range of what the sneaker will settle at after the drop, also when shipments come in, essentially the pair is going into circulation, whether they're expected to increase post-drop or even hypothetically decrease, along with how much specifically over specific periods of time. And finally, what type of margin are we looking at for these in terms of holding? Not the retail to resell initial margin, but rather just a hold margin over X period of time. Basically, are these actually going to be worth your time or not? Kicking it off, let's discuss the estimated range that these should be settling at. To begin with, since this is a Yeezy and not a Nike or Jordan item, I unfortunately do not have the exact stock numbers unlike usual. However, based on the amount of retailers receiving them, as well as the majority of rumors currently, not my own sources, these are supposed to have more stock than the other Foam Runner Yeezys. It is important to note that even all those have been pretty limited thus far though. The sale volume is certainly very high for these, similar to all other Foam Runner Yeezys pre-drop. However, these sales are about $70 less than the prior pair that we just saw, the MX Clay. These bids are also very healthy and stable, but again, the average is still shy of any Yeezy Foam Runner we have seen thus far by a pretty notable amount. Considering stock is supposed to be higher on these, and the colorway certainly does not stand out too much from all the other ones that we've already seen, this does make perfect sense. Regardless, based off the current sale volume and bids alone, it is almost a no-brainer that these will be profitable with an incredible margin regardless. All thanks to that super low retail of only $80. Seriously, thank you Kanye for looking out for our margins. Considering it is the night before the drop, I'm not expecting any notable changes pre-drop, hence this leaves the pre-drop average from sizes 4 to 13 at about $239. Again, this is just about $60 to $70 less than what we just recently saw, but again, no big deal. It still leaves plenty of room for profit, and this is justified by the slightly higher than usual stock, according to rumors at least. We normally see a notable change post-US drop. This is when we normally experience what I like to refer to as the impulsivity effect. You guys should know what I'm referring to by now, as we discuss this in nearly every single seller hold video. Regarding the impulsivity effect though, if you haven't watched my seller hold videos before, sneaker drops specifically impact human impulsiveness significantly after an individual fails to acquire that desired product due to insufficient supply and too much demand. Therefore, on average, we normally see about a 10% increase of the pre-drop prices post-drop. That 10% isn't always the case, where we see less than a 10% of an increase. A recent example of this was on the Jordan 4 Lightning, where in my video I mentioned we would likely see only about a 5% increase, and that's precisely what we did end up seeing following the US drop. And of course, since then, they have dropped significantly in price due to the pairs going into circulation. When it comes to these though, I'm expecting around the same result. With the rumored higher stock, initially I was hypothesizing that we might not see any impulsivity effect at all, but it looks like the market is already anticipating that higher stock since the prices are already lower. Hence, I do still think there is a little bit of room now for a minor post-drop impulsivity effect of 5%. This would leave us with a post-drop average of about $250 hypothetically. Keep this number in mind because we will be revisiting this number when discussing the most optimal times to sell at. Remember, these will just be the post-drop prices for a finite period of time. Now, let's discuss what prices will look like when shipments go out in the 1 to 2 week range. During this period, the vast majority of pairs will be going into circulation. When it comes to Yeezy Foam Runner releases, we tend to not see too notable of a decrease post-drop. The prior pair did not move much at all from their initial post-drop prices, just a very minor amount. Despite this pair having slightly higher stock than that, I do feel that the slightly lower pre-drop prices already justifies that, as I was discussing earlier. Hence, rather than seeing the usual 15% decrease like we see on a lot of sneakers, I'd only expect a little less than a 10% decrease once pairs are in circulation. Just as an example, we'll use 8% to illustrate a hypothetical price, but obviously I can't predict it perfectly. The main point here is just that I'm not expecting a massive dip for these, such as 15 to 20%, rather only about an 8% decrease, since although the stock is higher, it seems that the prices are already justified by that. This would leave prices at about $231 on average, with about 2 weeks given for shipments going out. Although this is lower than other foam runners, this still leaves plenty of room for an incredible margin, so obviously this is still 100% a full throttle release. Now that the average price ranges at those points in time are evident though, let's discuss whether they're expected to increase post-drop or even hypothetically decrease. There are 3 primary factors I'm considering when it comes to these. First, looking at other recent Yeezy foam runners and even the sand foam runners which dropped in March, they have seen an increase, however, it was rather mild. Next, it is also important to note that the vast majority of demand when it comes to this sneaker in particular will not be at its highest point until spring to summer, when it starts warming up, of course. Considering the natural build of this sneaker, it's inevitable. It literally has holes in it. So yes, in this case, there are seasonal demand factors when it comes to this particular model, similar to something like the Yeezy Slides. And finally, it is also notable that the prices for these are already rather low compared to other foam runners, leaving more room for growth. So that's a positive. With all this considered, similar to the other foam runners, I am expecting these to increase in value, but by a minor amount, especially over the winter and fall season. However, we may start to see more notable differences as spring begins. This is all just assuming Adidas does not decide to randomly restock these within the next year. This is always an inevitable risk when it comes to holding any Yeezy, because this is obviously something Adidas tends to do quite often, whereas with Nike, we tend to not have to deal with it so much unless there's a Jordan Reserve or something of that nature. Even then, it doesn't affect market nearly as much as an entire Yeezy re-release. But anyway, finally now regarding the hold margin on these, essentially, are these actually going to be worth your time? First, as mentioned earlier, I'm personally expecting these to see an increase, but by a minor amount, and mostly during the spring to summer seasons. Considering the very minor amount the sand pair has increased since March, even through the summer seasons though, I really can't say that the ROI during a 1-year period will be too promising. Hence, these will certainly not be my ideal hold. This combined with the fact that these are a Yeezy and they can restock at any time, that is an inevitable risk. I'd have to give these a below average rating of about 3.5 out of 10. Even though I am suspecting more of an increase during the warmer season, I will personally still be quick selling my pairs during the post-drop prices. This is quite the contrary compared to my last video where I mentioned the Jordan 4 Lightning, which I'm actually quite optimistic about for very long-term value. Also, just a note in general for anyone considering holding any items who do have low capital, you should never hold anything in general if you don't have sufficient capital to go for as many drops as possible at your full potential without holding back. If you do need money to go for drops, try to sell these as soon as possible. Now, let me know what you guys are planning to do with your pairs in the comments down below, since at the end of the day, this is just a discussion. I can't predict the future. These are just my personal opinions. This is just my personal analysis based off the data that I've acknowledged. We have a lot of brilliant minds watching this video now, a lot of experienced people, so I'd love to hear you guys out as well. Be sure to post your notions down in the comments below. Anyway, that'll conclude it for today. Feel free to leave a like if you enjoyed, or perhaps if you learned a thing or two. Subscribe and enable post notifications just to stay 100% updated on all hyped releases. Also, feel free to check out the links in the description below for reliable, fast, residential proxies and pre-verified Nike sneakers or Adidas accounts. Also, feel free to follow Endurance's Twitter for updates on restocks or key giveaways, and the same goes for Gargantua if you want to keep up with the progress or restocks. Last but not least, make sure to follow Keith Adam 10 and Personals for you, so you guys stay updated on all urgent info like I was discussing today. With that though, I will see you guys later. Have a fantastic rest of your day.